Hey everyone, welcome back to It's Not Rocket Science, the channel where we break down complex topics to present to a wider range of audience. To celebrate the 50th anniversary of one of the most historic and iconic space missions in U.S. history, we will be discussing the Apollo 11 mission that launched from Cape Kennedy Space Center in Florida on July 16, 1969 with Commander Neil Armstrong, Command Module Pilot Michael Collins, and Lunar Module Pilot Edwin Buzz Aldrin on board. An estimated 530 million people watched Armstrong's televised image and heard his voice describe the event as he took one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Despite the success of this mission, a month before the launch, Neil Armstrong thought there to be only a 50-50 chance of landing on the moon on the first attempt and only a 90% chance of making it safely back to Earth. This thought was matched by NASA's manned lunar landing, mission success, and crew safety estimates at 73% and 96% respectively. These go against the Apollo program goals of 90 and 99.9%. This mission could not have been possible without the famous rocket used for the mission, dubbed Saturn V. The Saturn V rocket was 111 meters tall, 18 meters taller than the Statue of Liberty. Fully fueled for liftoff, the Saturn V weighed 2.8 million kilograms, the weight of about 400 elephants. A car that gets 48 kilometers to the gallon could drive around the world about 800 times with the amount of fuel the Saturn V used for a lunar landing mission. The rocket generated more power than 85 Hoover dams at launch and could launch as much weight as 10 school buses. The Saturn V rockets used for the Apollo missions had 3 stages. Each stage would burn its engines until it was out of fuel and then would separate from the rocket. The engines on the next stage would fire and the rocket would continue into space. The first stage had the most powerful engines since it had the challenging task of lifting the fully fueled rocket off the ground. The first stage lifted the rocket to an altitude of about 68 kilometers. The second stage carried it from there almost into orbit. The third stage placed the Apollo spacecraft into Earth orbit and pushed it toward the moon. The first 2 stages fell into the ocean after separation. The third stage either stayed in space or hit the moon. The Apollo missions were some of the first space missions to use computers for navigation. The Apollo Guidance Computer was a digital computer produced for the Apollo program that was installed on board each Apollo Command Module and Apollo Lunar Module. The AGC provided computation and electronic interfaces for guidance, navigation, and control of the spacecraft. It used a numeric display and keyboard called the DSKY and used an older form of volatile memory known as the core rote memory. It was computationally as capable as a pair of old Nintendo game consoles. AGC software was written in assembly language, which is a primitive form of programming language which tends to be very esoteric and verbose. Here is Margaret Hamilton, director of the Software Engineering Division of the MIT Instrumentation Laboratory, standing next to listings of the software she and her MIT team produced for the Apollo project. When the design requirements for the AGC were defined, necessary software and programming techniques did not exist, so they had to be designed from scratch, leading to the MIT team behind the AGC making critical advancements foundational to software engineering, which largely affect and inspire development of reliable and fault-tolerant systems even today. After being sent to the moon by the Saturn V's third stage, the astronauts separated the spacecraft from it and traveled for 3 days until they entered lunar orbit. Armstrong and Aldrin then moved into Eagle, the lunar module of the spacecraft, and landed on the moon. Their lunar mission consisted of collecting samples and recording measurements of the lunar surface to take back home, to help benefit scientists to better understand the moon. Upon completion of the lunar mission, after 21 hours and 36 minutes, the astronauts prepared for the return to Earth. They used the lunar module's ascent stage to lift off from the lunar surface and on a trajectory back to Earth. They returned to Earth and splashed down in the Pacific Ocean on July 24th after more than 8 days in space. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you would like more information on the Apollo 11 mission, please check out our sources in the comments.